Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking you a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today and thank you for networking this information to anyone and everyone you know and love. The more people educated, the more people become empowered. And the more people that become empowered, the sooner we end this reign of terror by the globalist cult. You know, every year, the globalist cult get together like a bunch of pond scum. Actually, that's not being fair to scum. Like all the contents of a septic tank that float to the surface. That's better. In Davos, Switzerland. And I call it the D3 meeting, the Davos Death and Destruction meeting. Well, it's also a meeting of smoke and mirrors. And this year's meeting had a different tone to it in one respect. Behind the curtain, in the non-public general setting, it was the same. It was about, about their freedom stripping agenda. Okay, what aspect of the freedom stripping agenda are we going to inflict on what they call us, the useless eaters, this coming year? War, pestilence, famine, financial chaos. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but they're behind the curtain conversations, behind closed doors. But this year's a little different because they've come to the realization that there has been this mass awakening around the world, that billions of people around the world, several 100 million people actually right here in North America, have awakened to the operation of the cult, the freedom stripping, liberty stripping, future stripping, life stripping operation of the cult. And they're not very happy about that. So they launched on a program to try to lull the freedom movement, those billions of people around the world, those several 100 million people here on the North American continent, to lull them back into a sense of complacency and being comfortable so that they can go about their freedom stripping agenda without hassle, without pushback or blowback. I want you to remember one thing. Over 100 years ago, the mayor of New York, a person by the name of John Hylan, said the following, 100 years ago, quote, "The real menace of our republic is the invisible government which, like a giant octopus, sprawls its slimy legs over our cities, states, and nation. At the head of this octopus is a small group of banking houses, generally referred to as, quote, international bankers, end quote, also known as banksters in my world. This little group run our government for their own selfish ends. It operates under cover of a self-created screen. You know, everything's fine. The economy's fine. The world is fine. The border is fine, right? And at the same time, it seizes our executive officers, legislative bodies, schools, courts, newspapers, and every agency created for the public protection, end quote. 100 years ago, he was telling us. So this year, which was different than other years, at their general event, they usually have Klaus Schwab up there speaking about how you will have, direct quote from him in the past, quote, "you will have nothing and be happy," end quote, right? Well, they decided they were going to save that for a little bit out front, but mainly in the back this year. Because that intimidation theme was wearing thin on the world's population that they call useless eaters, you and me, Not the have-nots or the... No. Doesn't give you the connotation that what they're really about, how they really see us. Okay? So, all of a sudden, they started becoming in public at this general public meeting a bit more complacent and allowing people to speak and say things. Now remember, when someone speaks at the general session, they speak off a teleprompter, which means they have to bring their presentation to the powers that be to have it loaded on the teleprompter. So there was no one that was surprised over what was being said. This is all part of their operation of trying to lull people saying, oh, you know what? They're backing off. So that means we can back off. No. First up was Argentine President Javier Malay. Now, this guy has done some things in Argentina since recently taken over, not that long. Cut down a number of government agencies, got rid of a huge number of government employees, cut regulations and red tape. This is all good. But he did a couple other things that are, he's backing all these wars, right, that are pushed by the globalists. That's a problem. The other problem is he's talking about economic recovery of Argentina, which is needed. It's a mess. But the way he's doing it is a bit more than a bit, is suspect. Because who did he bring in to help run this new recovery program? A bunch of former bankers from JP Morgan Chase, which has been a significant hub of the criminality in the financial world. And then if he wants to back his currency, well, good. Backing currency is a good thing. But rather than back it with gold, silver, gas, natural gas, copper, foodstuffs, commodities, he's talking about backing it with the United States dollar that's not backed by anything. That's a product of the Federal Reserve, which is a globalist cult entity, part of the octopus. But this guy still got to speak. Argentine President Malay warns against collectivism at the Davos meeting. At the World Economic Forum, Malay said he wanted to, quote, plant the ideas of freedom in a forum that is contaminated by the 2030 socialist agenda, end quote. Well, that's all true. Quote, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism, totalitarianism. We're here to tell you that the collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world. Rather, they are the root cause, end quote. Completely agree. So people are watching this going, oh, look at this. The World Economic Forum is backing off because they're allowing people like this to speak. No, I believe it's some of their smoke and mirror show. They're showing you with the right hand, oh, we're kind and benevolent, but with the left hand, they're picking your pocket. This is because they realize they're iron glove, totalitarian, in-your-face, confrontational, we're taking your money, we're taking your life, we're taking your health, we're taking your future. That's not working anymore. The people that need to be intimidated have been intimidated. But there's about 20, 30% of people saying, you know what, I'm giving you the dirty bird. Malay went on, the Western world is in danger. Today, I'm here to tell you the Western world is in danger, Malay told the audience. And it is in danger because those who are supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty. This is all true, but again, they allowed him to say that. They knew he was going to say that. They allowed him. Again, they're trying to lull. Oh, the World Economic Forum, they're backing off. Then, Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, Alex Newman and I from the New American Magazine, best magazine on the planet, both print and electronic, was recently on my radio show, and we talked about the Heritage Foundation. They do some really good stuff, but some of it is controlled opposition, where they give you a little bit, but not a, and it's kind of a limited hangout thing. And the question is, why did they allow him to speak? Again, they're trying to lull you into complacency, backing off. Because what Roberts said, this president of the Heritage Foundation, was right on target. But they had his comments ahead of time, and they allowed him to present them in public. Here's what he said. I will be candid. The agenda that every single person member of the future administration in the United States needs to have is to compile a list of everything that's ever been proposed at the World Economic Forum and object all of them to object all of them wholesale. The very reason I'm here at Davos is to explain to many people in this room and who are watching, with all due respect, nothing personal, that you are the problem, end quote. When political elites tell the average people that the reality is X when in fact the reality is Y. And at the same time this was going on, Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, that's had umpteen criminal complaints against them, where they settled for billions of dollars, right, is having an interview on CNBS, as I call it. Some people still call it CNBC, but CNBS, and he's on there. Same time all this is coming down, saying, I think we've been too hard on Trump, and I think we've been too hard on the people that support Trump, and we need to be more open-minded and more inclusive. Again, part of this operation. And remember, every newspaper, every syndicated radio network, every TV station has some ties, if not completely owned and operated by the globalist cult, right? Including the Wall Street Journal. So the Wall Street Journal editor is there. Admits to Davos elites, we no longer own the news. Very true. Because this awakening is because of the independent media that has educated people who in turn have educated their friends and families and neighbors. This is exactly what you've done. By the millions, by the billions around the world. Right. They no longer, quote, own the news. Case in point, during a World Economic Forum discussion in public at Davos, entitled Defending the Truth, Wall Street Journal exec editor-in-chief Emma Tucker lamented the loss of control over the facts. Well, maybe, but there's still a huge amount of censorship, right? I'm still not on Twitter. Got knocked off January 8th, 2021 for stating a very brief statement that was factually correct and has been proven over time to be factually correct. There are thousands of us that are still off Twitter. Our YouTube channel is beyond suppressed, oppressed, censored. Same with all other social media platforms. So, yeah, they might not have control of the facts, but they still have control, significant control, over distribution of information through their censorship operations. Choke points, as I call them. So while all this was happening out in the public, we just lost control of the facts. We should be more inclusive of the MAGA movement. Jamie Dimon. We have these speakers that are scolding the people at the World Economic. This is all to lull people into complacency, because behind closed doors, here's what's going on. At the World Economic Forum Davos meeting, Jojo Maeda from Stop Ecocide Now explained with no sense of irony or shame, this from Zero Hedge, that farming the land, fishing for food, and worse still, making money off the land or sea, is now on par with mass murder or genocide, and they've now coined the term ecocide. E-C-O, side. What we see is, here's what she, quote, what we see is that people are trying to do is to make money, is farm, is fish. And what's missing is an awareness of the side effects and collateral damage that's happening. Christopher Olgan, a political analyst, wrote, ecocide is actually elitocide. which is allowing unelected elites to tell farmers to stop farming, fishermen to stop fishing, miners to stop mining. When you allow those things to happen, that is when you starve, unrest happens, and society collapses. Because when you listen to the stupidity of the unelected elite class who never intend to stop eating or owning everything, that's what they have now tried to convince you to do. Meanwhile, the Bond villain himself, Klaus Schwab, behind closed doors, elections will soon be a quaint relic of the past. Elections will soon be a quaint relic of the past. Well, actually, to a degree, they almost are now, right? Yeah. Says globalist Klaus Schwab, who points to AI as the coming, quote, king of democracy. World Economic Forum founder and chairman Klaus Schwab showed his true colors, saying the nations will soon no longer need to bother holding elections because voters could easily be replaced by artificial intelligence. AI is, quote, AI is more capable than people, unquote, he said, yeah. You see, so here's the bottom line, folks. Many people are dancing in the streets and celebrating, saying, yeah, did you see what Malay told those folks at the World Economic? Did you hear what the Roberts, the president of he really let him have it? Yeah, they're backing off. No, they're not. They're running a smoke and mirror show. Okay? So, they aren't backing off, number one. Number two, they are desperate. They are panicking over the number of people in the North American continent and in the world that have awakened to their freedom stripping, life stripping, future stripping operations. And they hope that by doing their smoke and mirror shows, you're going to back off. You're not going to. You're going to stay on the couch. You'll even maybe turn on the TV again and watch their propaganda on every channel. They're all, including Fox, all part of the problem. That you won't talk to your family in the next get-together about what's really going on. That you won't talk to your friends, to other family members, to your co-workers, to maybe even people you don't even know about getting their take on what's going on, and then you educating them on what's really happening because you have access to platforms like this. That's what they're trying to do. Don't bite that apple. Nope. What you need to do, keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on. Keep getting involved. Keep networking information to friends and family. Keep working on your protection for yourself and your family. Storable food, storable water. For financial, best insurance policy, physical gold, physical silver. Having a means of protecting all of that. Networking with your neighbors about, okay, well, if it hits the fan, what are you going to bring to the table? Okay, you're good at fixing things. Perfect. What are you going to bring to the table? Oh, you're a nurse. You're really good at helping people from a health standpoint. Great. You're good. We got you there. Keep working on that. Don't back off. Also, don't back off. Making your presence known peacefully to those in your community that run elections, that run the schools, that oversee community groups, saying, what are we doing about this? What are we doing about that? What are we doing to address this issue? Keep it up. Because it's working. They never would have pulled the smoke and mirror show in the death and destruction Davos meeting if it wasn't. You're doing a great job. Keep the pressure on. Don't let their smoke and mirrors operation make you take your foot off the gas pedal. I thank you for joining me today. We're available 24/7 at davejanda.com. Extra shows, content guests, archives, analysis, and issues that I cannot go into on any social media platform or on the radio because of the censorship choke points that I described earlier that are still present within the system. That website, davejanda.com, will put you months, years, and in some cases decades ahead of the curve, which ultimately leads to your protection and your family's protection. I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.